Alright, welcome to Tribulation 515 2011. Hopefully everything is working. When I flip the computer around and whatnot, sometimes the audio kind of tweaks out. That was a clip from the movie I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. That dude playing the pimp, this guy by the name of Antone Fargas. He was Huggy Bear in Starsky and Hutch. But I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, I thought it was one of the funniest movies ever made. And they were letting that dude, he was a pimp from back in the day, they were letting him out of jail, and he had that suit on where when he went into jail, he thought that was the bomb, and he had shoes where there was literally fish swimming in the bottom of it. I thought that was hilarious. But of course, when he came out of jail, it's like the world that he knew was no longer, and where he thought he was super fly guy, he was now just on the run and embarrassed as hell. And I tell you what, my friends, that's a little bit of where we're at. It's October 10th, I do believe. Oh, the 11th, I'm sorry. It's a Friday out here in San Jose, California. It is a just awesome day. It's a little cold in the morning, but warms right up to like 75, 80 degrees. So I thank God every day for the glorious weather that we have out here. It is 2013. The tribulation continues. The world looks like it's still spiraling downwards. But that video clip, to me, it's kind of funny, but I think that's where we're kind of at. Like, seriously, if a person got out of jail, like that dude, Fly Guy, I don't think he would recognize the world as it exists today. And sometimes, if you're watching the news and the current events, it sure seems like we're living in a movie, man, because, stuff is just so bizarre and crazy. Real life is more, just you can't even make up these kinds of stories. So anyway, we got a bunch of stuff we're going to try and just get through. We're at day 880. This night is a biblical reference. I'm going to just talk a little bit about that because I think it's important. But just to touch on some real stuff, and like I said, nowadays, who knows what reality is? You really can't even get it watching the news, man, because like if you're switching from MSNBC to Fox News, it's like night and day, the two realities between those shows. On MSNBC, the Republicans are to blame for everything because MSNBC is just an arm, an extension of the liberal mindset or the Democratic Party, and Fox is kind of the counterbalance to that. But trying to find out what reality and the truth is can get really hard, and sometimes reality can just change. Just to kind of touch on the big stories, on the Fox News site, it's Death on the Range. That freak snowstorm they had that swept across the West and the Midwest. Up to 100,000 cattle are dead, so I could see that affecting beef prices. But of course, if you were following the stock market, yesterday it went up 300 and something points. The biggest one-day gain it's ever done. And, the news this morning was like, man, everything's cool. And the reason why everything's cool is because Obama was meeting with the Republicans, and there are rumors that they got some kind of a deal, negotiation, a compromise, and that the government, hallelujah, is going to be turned back on. And all will be well. So the markets, went through the roof yesterday just on the rumors, and, all the financial shows and news shows, like MSNBC, they're like, oh, man, everything's cool. Disaster is averted. But I tell you, my friends, it's just like Huggy Bear, Fly Guy, walking down the street in that pimp outfit. All of a sudden, the shoe broke. And there was fish on the street, and people laughing, and all of a sudden he was running, just looking for a place to hide. That is how it's going to be. When people who've been living in a bubbleized existence have their head stuck in the sand, or just living in a shadow or deception, where reality hits them in the face, and they wake up and their eyes open up, and they say, whoa, and they have to run, hightail it. But the freak snowstorm, 100,000 cattle dead. The sun's still doing all sorts of crazy stuff. Weather is still pretty abnormal. The government's been closed down for 10 or 11 days. Most of us have felt absolutely zero impact of the government shutting down. But our glorious president, Barack Obama, we should say a prayer for him at all times, that God's wisdom and light will flow to him and through him and help him with whatever it is, decisions he's making. But I kind of view Obama as just a puppet, But as president, since the shutdown has happened, he has been in charge, him and his people, on selecting and choosing what gets shut down and who gets hurt. And they've been doing their darn best to hurt as many people as possible, from the World War II vets, where our government literally had to build a fence around an open space monument and post guards to keep people away from a monument that before the shutdown you could freely approach the monument and look at it anytime you want. There was nobody there. So we're literally paying for additional people, security guards, to do a job that didn't exist prior to the government shutdown. But that's the crazy nature of reality, kind of like that pimp walking down the street where he thought he was all fly in that yellow outfit, whereas now people calling him a clown. Well, guess what? A lot of people calling Obama a clown. And him blaming everything on the Republicans, is getting to be an old story. And you know what? I'm not letting the Republicans off the hook. They're all kind of part of it. Republicans, Democrats, it really looks like they're priming the pump and they want the system to kind of come down on itself. But on mere rumors, the stock market shot through the roof yesterday. So according to all the financial shows, everything's cool. But if you take a step back to see the forest through the trees and you actually look at the stock market, it's been going up, down, because since the shutdown, it had been going way down. It had dropped like 300-400 points. So what you see of the stock market is that it's going, ooh, 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 ooh. It's staggering, it's swaggering like a drunken fool. And, those that can see that all is not well. This country, the United States, is still spending way more money than it takes in. We still have to raise the debt ceiling. And if they do raise the debt ceiling, is that even a good thing? With our government, Obama appointed a new Fed chair, this woman Yellen, and she seems to be saying, hey, yeah, I'm just going to keep printing money. That seems to work. It's like magic, man. You just print more money and things keep working. I'll tell you what, my friends, it's going to be like that glass shoe. Pop, fish spill out, and all of a sudden it's like it ain't working. So, the markets are rocking, in my opinion. We are approaching October 29th, which is a Tuesday, which is the same day back in 1929 that the great stock market collapse happened, and we launched into a depression, my friends. Fukushima, is still a festering mess. The last news article I heard was that the company, Japanese Electric, whatever it is, they were going into reactor 4 to try and remove the spent fuel rods, and they already know that all the boron containment cylinders were all destroyed. With every typhoon, with every hurricane, with every earthquake, that facility crumbles even more and more and more. And that's, another big, shadow deception. I got to admit, most of my life I've been kind of pro-nuclear, but at this point, I'm kind of turning the tide on that, because the dirty secret is that even though we got all these nuclear power plants coming online, we have no way to get rid of or store the spent fuel rods, so they become these festering sores no matter what they are, just awaiting for some disaster to turn it into a nuclear nightmare for us. And I got news on other nuclear nightmares as well, but I just want to say, Fukushima, the last article I heard is they were going in to deal with these fuel rods, but it's a mess, and it looks like it could be a meltdown. We don't hear a peep out of it from like our president, because he doesn't care. But there could be more disasters, but Fukushima in and of itself is a disaster of unparalleled dimensions that's going to bring a ring of death around the planet, unless something happens, like God comes into play to clean things up. God can do anything. But, they had an article. I'll actually switch you back to my computer for a second here. Look at this, man. This is about an Air Force general right here. Air Force general in charge of nuclear missiles fired over conduct. And what you find out in this story is he's not even the first. That seems like we've fired several generals. All these guys have their finger on the launch keys of our nuclear intercontinental ballistic missiles. What does that all mean? I don't know, man, but it ain't good, But is anybody even talking about that? All that stuff's buried on back pages, because we got bigger fish to fry. Watching the chess game, I don't even know what to call it. I called it morons matching wits. Which is the Republicans and Democrats with the BS over the continuing resolution because they can't make a budget. That's the truth there. They're supposed to do a budget. Continuing resolution is just what's been happening since Obama became president. And that's the truth. Obama, it's so amazing. Things when he became president, 5 years ago, he promised so much. One of the first things he did is he closed down the mountain that was going to store all the spent nuclear fuel rods. So we've been just kicking the can down the road ever since he became president on everything. He hasn't solved anything. He just brought on Obamacare, which is just a disaster. The first week, the website has been just filled with glitches, and it's morons matching wit, and it's also how do you keep a moron in suspense? You go to the government website and have them log in, because it comes up with a message saying, wait patiently. And the government's just laughing all the way as you sit there for literally days on end waiting for their website to work. But we got generals that are in charge of our nuclear weapons being fired for nefarious reasons that our government won't reveal to us. There's secrecy at all levels. Our government, his spokesperson, Jake Harney, they're just all stonewalling and lying, all the time. But I'm going to kind of wrap this up. There's so many things I could talk about, but the Republicans, the Democrats, and our president, they say we're taking a stand. We're taking a stand. Like we got principles, we got morals. It's like what a joke, But that's kind of like the times we live in. There's people all across the world taking stands on nuclear power, taking stands on health care, women's rights, abortion, gay rights, whatever, And what I will tell you, my friends, is it's important to know where you stand and with who you're standing with, who you're drawing, who's your power source. Are you a high tower power, or have you built a fortified, false tower built on a phony foundation that's going to crumble in a storm? But this night kind of points to a story in the Bible about the disciple Peter, where Jesus tells him in all four Gospels, and maybe I'm going to kind of do a little research on how many stories are told in all four Gospels, but this one is. And it's basically Jesus just saying, hey man, before the cock crows, you're going to deny me 3 times this night. And that phrase, this night, I think that's in play, my friends. There's a time period, darkness of 3 days, starts with the first night, but when night falls, things manifest. Some to glory, because it's in the darkest night that a light shines the brightest, but some things are going to manifest to darkness and shadows, and it's going to be ugly, my friends. But that's what Jesus was kind of telling Peter. He says, you're going to deny me. And that was dark. Peter was ashamed when he did it, but he did it. And he was supposed to be the rock. But at that point, he hadn't built his high tower on a firm foundation. It still had some cracks in it. But this night also kind of ties into Jesus when he was riding his donkey into Jerusalem. He saw a fig tree by the path, and he said, from this point henceforth, you shall bear no more fruit, and it withered up instantly. In the blink of an eye, in an instance, things are going to change. Things are going to manifest. And when I was kind of doing my research around that, the rooster, the cock crowing, the signal, the sound, something crying out, a trumpet, who knows what it is that is the trigger, the switch being flipped. But those to the dark side, we have some insight looking at the Bible too. It's the swine of pigs running down the hill into the abyss, dying. It's I had a couple other references, but it's all dark manifestations of people, yelling, screaming, crying out in pain. And another thing, there's also a story of the centurion where he asks Jesus for help, and Jesus says, yeah, but then he says, hey, you don't need to do nothing. I know it's going to happen because I recognize your power, because I'm a man who works within a power structure. And that's a little bit of what's happening too, both light and dark. People clinging to power on the dark side, and a new paradigm of power being established on the light side. Because I will tell you, love and truth will conquer the day, my friends. So make sure where you stand, you know. But if you want to go into greater detail, go on over to Operation End Times. I'm doing the Gird Thy Loins series. I'm going to have part 3 up shortly. We got some just absolutely amazing stuff that's coming up. But it's all about darkness, my friends. Thor, the movie Thor is coming out on November 8th. It's entitled The Darkness. And of course, almost all the movies nowadays either have zombies or darkness, manifestations of darkness, of superheroes to come, of darkness invading. That's all in play, my friends. Because when this night, the cock crows, that's the signal. And one last thought: Comet Ison is still approaching. Telling an amazing tale in the stars in and of itself, and I think it's not going to disappoint. Even though some people were thinking it was going to bust up, but it's kind of making its approach around the sun as well. So there are just amazing things. There are signs in the sky. There are amazing things happening on the planet. 100,000 cattle dying in a freak snowstorm. We are living in the most amazing times, my friends. Once again, are your eyes open? And if they are, what's pouring in? Are you getting darkness? Are you just seeing darkness? Are you living in fear? Or is light pouring in? Are you seeing light and that you're living in love and truth? That's what you got to ask yourself, because it's going to be important this night, where your heart is and what you're going to go through, in the near future. 2014 is just chock loaded, and 2015. The tribulation isn't stopping. It says, "Blessed is he who gets to 1,335 days." So that means there's still like 400 and some odd more days. More than a year. Of this tribulation. What's going to happen on day 1335? Who knows? I surely don't. But anyway, hey, this is Tribulation 5/15/2011. May God bless you and keep you. If you're watching this, hopefully your eyes are being opened. And even if your eyes are not opened and you don't think anything's going on, then God bless you too, and God bless your bubbleized existence. May the bubble continue to exist and not pop. Especially if you're walking down the street like Huggy Bear there, where all of a sudden he was ashamed, he was embarrassed, he was fearful, and he was running for his life and hiding in a dark alley. All right, hey, think about it all. All right, catch you later.